teaches Black history so we can highlight Africa's contribution to the globe. So my daughter can understand that there's other representation of you that's been powerful, so you can be this powerful. We even have an affirmation tool for her to affirm herself. It's called School of New Africa. And this whole crisis has...
Piers Morgan had panelists including Nerdrotic up here, where Nerdrotic actually have a discussion with a Black activist, where the Black activist talks about how he's tired of seeing images of hungry kids in Africa and commercials for fundraisers. I'll be honest, I haven't seen that in years myself, but the fact of the matter is that apparently, you know, it's like these different companies decided to go ahead and continue to do this, and it's like decades after decades, nothing was being done. But Nerdrotic says that he understands and feels the same way and that something should be done, but it's not good enough for the Black activists and stuff. And the activists is still not satisfied with, you know, Nerdrotic's comics. So here's a discussion with Nerdrotic and Piers Morgan, as well as Black activists, on what should be done to correct this issue, and listen to what Nerdrotic has to say about this. Watch the interaction between Piers Morgan and Nerdrotic, as well as a Black activist. So before we begin, go ahead, smash the like button, share the video for all our across social media. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, click bell notifications, so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. So let's go ahead and get right into it.
World's hungriest people still live in Africa. What is wrong with him continuing to prick the conscience of prosperous people outside of Africa to help?
Yeah, just to put into context, 300 million people, there's 1.4 billion people in Africa, right? My issue is that there's a way that we can still help people without having to take away their pride and dignity. There's 95.5 million people that can't afford a proper meal in Europe. That's 1 in 9 versus 1 in 10 in Africa.
Right.
But somehow we're able to help and you know, bring these initiatives to help these people without having to destroy their pride and identity. And also, another issue that, you know, I like to point out is that, yes, there was a crisis happening and they needed, you know, an immediate solution to it. But it branded the whole of the continent as a place of famine and war and poverty and death. But it was just a crisis in one country. And I always give the example of, you know, Ukraine being in crisis and all of a sudden the whole of Europe is war-stricken.
Yeah.
You know, so we just have to be very careful with the way that we execute, because I understand the sentiment of wanting to help, because it's great to help, especially when there's a crisis. We all need to come together to help. But please, let's be mindful about how we actually execute these helps, because sometimes, well, in our scenario for Africa, it has crippled us over the 40 years. And I understand that in the short term, it helped. And, you know, I'm grateful that, you know, it helped at the time. But let's also look at what is caused now.
Let me bring in Ernest, because you've been nodding away here, Ernest. What do you think of this?
Well, I think, you know, everything he's saying is very valid and what's been said. I mean, I've been to Ghana and love the country, and think that, you know, when I went to Ghana and what I saw in person, my experience there was nothing like the narratives I've seen growing up, watching stuff, you know, on TV and commercials. And I think about, you know, the fact of that impact, right? You said 40 years ago, we got a president, you know, elect that referred to African countries as shithole countries. And part of what he was thinking was the types of images that we've seen growing up of Africa being depicted in the type of way that it is. And so for me, it's like there's other ways to counter the narrative. I think that while it can be compelling to see people impoverished and all these things, if that is the bulk of the majority of the narratives that we're seeing visually of one particular area of the world constantly, even when we're not asking for charity, then you got to mix it up and do something better.
And I would say...
Let me bring in Nerdrotic, because you've been waiting patiently. What do you think of this debate, Nerdrotic?
I think it's interesting, being an expert in Africa myself, never been there, but I would say...
Like the honesty.
Starving children should be the priority no matter where they are, and fixing that problem, pride, I would swallow that. I understand the perception. Maybe I think there's a reasonable conclusion we could come here. We could talk about the region maybe, and not, you know, because there's shithole countries. Definitely. It's not exclusive to Africa. There's shithole countries around the entire world.
Can I just add to that? Yeah, you're right. Starving children are the priority, right? But I'm thinking about my daughter right now, right? I want my daughter to step outside her house being proud of who she is. Imagine your daughter stepping out, feeling like, you know, anything that represents her is poor, is famine, is death, is it's just nothing that's building her self-confidence. And as a result of this... this issue, I'm having to affirm my daughter every day, because I know when she steps out, the world view of how people see her is not so great because of images like, Band-Aid initiatives. So all I'm saying is that there's a way to execute this. I'm not just thinking about myself. Yeah, it's too late for a lot of us older ones who've disconnected with who we are. I'm thinking about my daughter. I just want her to be herself. I just want her to be proud of who she is. I want her to understand that she is more than what the world tells her. So I have to affirm her every day. So what I'm trying to say is that we've created an identity crisis as a result of trying to help something in the short term. And I understand we have to prioritize the people starving, but let's also think about the future, the next generation of leaders.
Okay, let me get Nerdrotic, because you want to respond to that.
I do. Well, as a father who's raised 2 boys, I absolutely understand, especially one of them being special needs. I understand having to talk to your kid about being an individual and not having to kind of close out the world, and understand that the world is not going to cater to you because of this special need. And this is something you have to teach your kid individually as a father. I'm not going to tell you how to father, but I understand. I'm just saying there has to be some kind of compromise. To where maybe focus on the region, wherever that region is, and going, this region needs help, and do show pictures, because people aren't going to know if you don't. And it sucks to see that. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see starving children.
I'm so glad that you gave an example of your son, because you've been working so hard indoors, building his self-confidence. I've been doing that. A whole nation of us been doing that with our kids. But it's so hard when initiatives like Band-Aid come again, and it feels like it's setting us back, because it's 2024. We're supposed to embrace each other. We're supposed to uplift each other, not put each other down. There's a way we can execute this without putting ourselves down. And that's why I've even taken upon myself. We've launched an educational app that teaches Black history, so we can highlight Africa's contribution to the globe. So my daughter can understand that there's other representation of you that's been powerful, so you can be this powerful. We even have an affirmation tool for her to affirm herself. It's called School of New Africa. And this whole crisis has...
Okay, I'd have to stop it right here, because what the heck is he talking about? I mean, for once, Nerdrotic actually agrees with him and stuff, but at the same time, Nerdrotic is sharing that, got to focus on what's happening in the target area and everything. Point blank, period. And also, go ahead, and it's actually good to go ahead and put these kind of images out there to show the world what's actually going on. So that way, and I'm pretty sure this Black activist right here from these lands possibly should go ahead and see how to address the issue, to bring out the resolution and stuff, as well as to find out the root cause of it. So that way, go ahead and get this issue out there. I mean, prime example, think about the different African countries that's been affected: Chad, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, etc. And it's like, you know what? There's problems happening in these countries and stuff. It's just a certain entity that decided to go ahead and step in and stuff to help out. That's what these countries decided to go ahead and lean towards to. And the U.S. government under the Biden administration doesn't like that. Okay? And the fact of the matter is that how in the world are you going to go ahead and address a problem if you don't show the problem out there? What's the problem? Starving children. Okay, but this Black activists out there seem to be apparently focused on, saying like how we gotta stop doing this and stuff because it affects the pride and the identity of the African people and everything and stuff. But the fact of the matter is, he basically says that there's a problem. He doesn't want people to see the problem. That's what it seems like right now. I could be wrong, but that's the way he's putting it out there. He's worried about how it's making people look and stuff, rather than go ahead and just resolve the issue and stuff to feed the different starving children that's out there. And it's a shame this has been happening for decades and stuff, but at the same time, it's like this should be simple to solve.
Has pretty much presented a situation where we've had to become the solution to it. Same way you've been working behind doors to be the solution to your child. I've had to bring the solution for my daughter, and I feel like we just all need to work together. If there's an issue, if there's a
stop feeling, start thinking
crisis, you need to allow the people that you're helping to lead the conversation so it doesn't cause another crisis.
Should Ed Sheeran should his name be taken off the record as he wanted?
I think he should have asked for approval. I think that's just like common courtesy.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my argument is more an economic one, because ultimately I think there are better ways of actually providing the people that need the help. A lot of these big charities, they don't actually end up helping the people that need to be helped. They get swallowed up in administration and all of that. And I think a side effect of these kinds of images coming out of Africa, although they are important, you don't see parts of Africa as tourist destinations, which actually benefit private enterprise, that benefit people that actually have the ability to be able to benefit their local communities, not rich, corrupt politicians.
But you know what, though, Esther, if
she's right. She's absolutely right, because guess what? A lot of these different organizations and everything that's supposedly going ahead to help these African countries and stuff, they're liberally supported organizations. Okay, and it's like take for example, like with the whole thing, like the different organizations, they're associated with the UN. Okay, the UN came into these countries and stuff like supposed to be like peacekeepers and everything, but then you see all the different stories and stuff that affected these peoples, and that's something that Trump, like I've seen under the Trump administration, that exposed it and everything, where these different countries, these different entities and stuff went on ahead, try to help these African countries, and then in realization destroy them and stuff. And these different nations and stuff under the UN are the different nations that Trump had put these tariffs up against and stuff. And it's the crazy thing is, like, these different UN nations hated Trump and probably still hate Trump to this day because they fear him. All right. But this isn't about Trump, of course, but I was just sharing a bigger picture of this whole thing. And the fact of the matter is, she's actually absolutely right. The economic standpoint and stuff, these different organizations that's supposed to be helping these children to end hunger and stuff in African nations and stuff, they're the part of the problem because they're not really helping them at all. Okay, they're destroying it even further, keeping them in the kind of calamities that they're in, or bringing worse calamities to them. And the fact of the matter is, they're big contributors to the problem and stuff rather than finding a solution. Otherwise, the solution would have been made a long time ago, and we wouldn't be having this discussion today. And the fact of the matter is, you got to focus on these things, show these images of different people out there, including children, because guess what? How are you going to resolve the issue if you don't see the problem itself? I mean, it's pretty simple, and pride and integrity doesn't really have anything to do with it. And it's like, that's going to actually, if you resolve these things, that's going to improve the integrity and the pride of these children as well as other individuals. Something that the activists like this guy up here doesn't seem to understand.
If Britain carries on down the road it's been going for the last few years, we might end up being on the subject of appeals from Africa to help their poor friends in England, because it's that bad. Right? We might have do the Brits know it's Christmas with pictures of starving little English kids in the street.
Cold pensioners.
Because there are lots of countries in Africa which are absolutely killing it right now, and they look at us and go, wow, what happened to you guys? So look, it's a great debate. Fuse, great to have you on Uncensored.
So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts you might have with this particular topic. If you enjoyed what was shared in this video, go ahead, smash the like button, share the video far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already, you enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click bell notifications. So that way, you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.